This is the High School Crossfire. Welcome back.
Now, it comes to my attention that Team Negative wasn't listening to our first speech. In our first speech, we came out and perfectly told them that our tax is not going to be increased on the products. What we're increasing is the tax rate on the income earned by these different companies in Uganda that are benefiting from the agriculture sector in Uganda. Now, the lowest person to pay the presumptive income tax in Uganda earns 10 million. So the poor people they are talking about, the grandmothers who dig cassava and sell them in the farms, and sell them in the markets, will not be taxed. They will not face the tax increment. The tax increment will apply to the likes of Mandivani group of companies. They will apply to the likes that are benefiting from 10 million to 150 million and above, and the tax increment will be on the income earned after all transactions have been made, ignorant, without including the losses and the prices that have been faced. So we come up and we tell you that we are going to look at the tax increment from a rate of 0.4%, which is contributed by the agriculture sector. They come up and they say that Uganda produces low quality goods. Well, according to
information
rejected. According to the Independent of 6th December 2020, according to the Coffee Quality Institute of the United States of America, Uganda is the third best among the countries producing quality coffee. So if coffee is one of our leading exports, then why not we increase taxes on the companies that are benefiting?
Point of information.
Rejected.
Point of information, please.
Rejected. And then they come up and they asked us questions. For example, can the agriculture sector sustain an increment? But themselves, they came up and told us that the agriculture sector is a developing sector. So what does development mean to them? Does that mean that at some point it is going to stop?
Point of information.
It just rejected. It just shows that the sector is developing from a rate. We look at the development of the agriculture sector and we tell them that look at the coffee in Uganda.
Point of information, Honorable. So if you believe that it's coffee, don't you think that we should do more with value addition in order to increase the income as well as the taxes?
If Uganda is the third best producer of coffee in the world, then what more do you need to start earning from it? Because we have told you, according to URA, that agriculture sector contributes only 0.4% of taxes. At what point will you realize that you need to increase these taxes in order for us to benefit more from our produce? And then they come up and they say that they come up and they ask us questions. For example, can the people buy products that are taxed very highly? And then we try to remind them that the taxation is only on income for the different entities that are earning from 10 million to 150 million and above. And in case that doesn't apply and they push the taxes to the consumers, we are going to set price ceilings. That is a price maximum to protect the consumers and a price minimum to protect the producers. And then we come up and they say that they came up and say that there is need for value addition in the agriculture sector. Then what are the subsidies for? The agriculture sector is provided by a second farmer. That agriculture sector is a sector of the economy of the country that has the most subsidies. So what are the subsidies for if there's still need for value addition? And they're going to add more subsidies. We're showing you that the agriculture sector contributes a lot to the exports of Uganda, which is 80% of the exports of the country. So if they're exporting that much, and then we're giving them more subsidies, how much will we benefit from their solution? And then if they wish to support the commercial farming, then why do they wish to provide more subsidies? And then we come up and remind them that we're increasing the presumptive income tax, which bases on profits made by an entity that benefits from the fertile soils of Uganda. And then they come up and they say that the high income earners pay less taxes. So why don't we need to increase the taxes they are paying?
No, the world nowadays says, had I known comes last. Resolved. This house shall increase the tax rate in the agriculture sector. To begin with, why do I use this quote? Had I known comes last. What do we get from, what are the demerits of increasing taxes in the country? That's the first thing that they had to tell us. And how are they going to solve the demerits of increasing taxes in the agriculture sector? One, they clearly tell us that most of the people in the country are employed to the agriculture sector, but not all of them are even paying taxes, because it's basically those who are in commercial farming who are paying taxes. And that's what Team Opposition tells you, that we are trying to fully diversify agriculture from not only a subsistence sector to a commercial sector, so that even if we don't increase the taxes, the increase on the tax rate. Rather, we shall be collecting enough taxes, since now those involved in commercial farming are easily taxed. So this will easily fit into the tax system. If the problem of the country is earning funds, earning money from the taxes, we shall be able to earn this money without increasing tax rate. One, when we increase the tax rate, this is going to lead to an economic inflation. They tell us of price legislation, but we look at this. Price legislation is going to give a standard price for a good, yes, but the company is still going to be taxed high. What does this mean? Bosses of companies are going to reduce on their employees. One, that is leading to unemployment, because the boss cannot sustain the number of employees they're having. We look at companies like Skoll, companies like Lugazi Sugar Works, where they're having very many people employed. Now, if you've increased the tax rate in the agriculture sector, one, and their products are not going to be sold expensively, what will they do? They'll have to reduce on the amount that they release in things like paying people, and the quality of goods will reduce. If you're saying that agriculture, Uganda is the third best country that exports coffee. We look at selling a kilogram of coffee and you selling at least 2 tins of Nescafe. Which one costs more money? Which one brings more money to the country? Selling 2 tins of Nescafe, what do I bring to you? That is value addition, which team opposition calls for. Allowed.
Where and when are you going to get the money that you're going to use to sustain the to support the agriculture sector that you're talking about?
Okay, right. Our dear judges, she's asking us this, but in our first speech, our first speaker clearly gave you a point of how different we are going to fight corruption. We told them that fighting corruption in the country has been too low, because they gave us that they're going to fight corruption first of all. We know that Uganda is losing a big amount of money to corruption, right? But our first speaker said, how different are we going to fight corruption? He said that we are going to look at things like making sectors, these anti-corruption sectors, independent of each other. Because from this, we are going to see that the IGG's office cannot be influenced by the State House anti-corruption unit, because if these political leaders, corruption itself can be within these sectors. So we are fighting corruption from the sectors themselves to begin with, because if we are saying ministers themselves being corrupted, how are we going to see a development if ministers themselves are being corrupted? So we can easily identify all this. Then we come and tell them that there is going to be low market for our goods. If the goods are not of perfect quality, why, if we are the third, and the goods are already not being first on the market, our dear judges, what is this going to mean? They're going to increase the amount of money on the exports that are going to be, if coffee has been sold low at a low price right now, when you're to increase the tax rate in the agriculture sector, coffee is going to be sold expensively, meaning the quality of the goods that is already not that perfect is going to reduce, because there's a lot of money being paid by companies that are involved in coffee, but there is little money that they are getting because the tax rates are high, our dear judges. Then they tell us that there is shortage of foreign aid. Yes, and if you're to bring in an economic inflation, the country right now cannot borrow money from the World Bank, meaning you're going to lower our country to the standards that we can't believe. Our dear judges, we still ask them the question, how are we going to substantiate how the increase in the tax rate is going to add to the economy? They didn't give us the figures. So I remain Okiria Michael, Team Smako, for God and my country. Thank you.
This is the High School Crossfire. We'll be back in a minute.